like to welcome everybody to today. We're going to be doing a webinar on how to host and create a webinar. When we start this out, one of the things that I'll do is you're going to see the video screen segue to the side. So what will happen is the PowerPoint will become the main part of the webinar. Right now you can see a video, and we'll come back to the video at the end of the webinar so that we can ask questions and entertain any responses from anybody on the floor. So you should, in a minute here, just be seeing the PowerPoint. Everybody should now just be only viewing the PowerPoint on webinar information. To start out today, we're going to talk about the webinar information on sort of the who, what, why, where, what can I do with this information. The most popular question is, well, why do I need a webinar? Webinars can be used for more than continued education. They can be used for inter-office conferences, HR meetings, interviews of new personnel, and as an inexpensive promotional tool to get the word out about your office. And then the next question is, well, how do I host a webinar? Well, as long as you have an internet connection, a computer with a camera, a decent microphone, you can host a webinar. Well, where can you host or where can you present a webinar? Well, a webinar can be hosted from almost anywhere, from your desk, conference room, a home. No software is needed to be the host of a webinar, so it's very straightforward. Well, who can participate in a webinar? Well, any individual can participate in a webinar. All an individual needs to do to participate is have a computer connected to the internet and basically get an invite or permission from the host of a webinar. Now, can I invite a guest speaker? Yep, a guest speaker can be invited from almost anywhere in the world. As long as they have an internet connection, a computer, a decent microphone, the guest lecturer can participate within less than 5 minutes, and they don't need to download anything. And then finally, what do I need to do to host a webinar? And that's really what we're going to spend most of our time talking about, is what do you need to do. But with most webinars, what you need to do is send an invitation to your webinar, and the invitation can be given in one of two ways. First, via a link sent by email, or second, a password with user permission given to the individual verbally. Webinars are about as convenient as they get, so it's one of the easiest things you can do to set up. And we're going to actually go through the steps right now on how you set that part up. How does our webinar work? Well, the Legal Conference webinar works in the following. To host a webinar, the webinar can be purchased on an as-needed basis. So when you enter your room, you can purchase the webinar for that month or 2 months, whatever time you need, and for whatever size you need. So webinars can be created for a project for as small as 25 individuals or as large as several hundred individuals. You basically make those decisions when you start your webinar, saying, I need a webinar for a small group. You can do it, and they're disposable. They can be done for that month, and then that's it. If you ever have any questions on using one of our Legal Conference webinars, I want to remind everybody that our support staff is available to assisting you in setting up a webinar. Even if you're a pro at it, we'll be more than happy to help out. Doesn't matter if you're new or a novice or a pro, everybody likes to know how the webinar sets up and can use a little help. So we're going to go through the steps visually on how to actually set up a Legal Conference webinar. Start out, you're going to want to go to Legal Conference, and after you've gone to the Legal Conference website, you're going to want to go to the login page. And as you can see here at the login page, and at the very top right, it says Manage My Account. When you click on that Manage My Account, it's going to bring you to this page. When you're at this page, you want to put in your email and your password. And we're presuming that you've already set up your Legal Conference account. And this is just you going in to add the webinar feature. Now, once you're entered into your account, most of you, if you've seen some of the other webinars, are familiar with how to basically create an account with Legal Conference. It's fairly easy and straightforward. You come into a file management system that you're seeing right now. Here in the file management system, you can actually see a folder that was already created in this previously. And what we're going to do is actually go through the steps on adding a webinar folder. So the first thing we're going to do is go up into the upper right-hand corner where it says New Webinar. We're going to click on it. Once we click on it, it's going to guide us to an actual pop-up screen that says add a new webinar. Once you're in the add a new webinar, it's going to have a drop down on different prices. We're going to start out with just a simple price, about $49 a month for the $49 for 1 month for a unlimited use during that time for 25 people. So once I go in, I'm going to give my credit card information, and then I'm going to be able to process and set up my webinar. Once I'm finished with this page, it's going to take me back to Legal Conference. So now the second part of this is what do we do once we've created that webinar? We've paid for it. Now how do we actually use it? Well, the first thing you're going to notice is the webinar is going to appear in your file storage area. It's going to appear as a folder with an icon of a group of people. It's actually supposed to be an icon of about 3 individuals there. We've highlighted the folder there so you can actually see, hey, that's a webinar folder. It looks different than my standard storage folder. So we're going to go ahead and open that. When we click and open that folder, it's going to first bring up a dialog box that has the name of the webinar, and you can either open, manage, or edit. And what we're going to do in this one is we're actually going to click on the open, and we're actually going to go right on in to the webinar itself. When you open a webinar, it looks slightly different than what you're used to with the normal document management folder. The video is again on the left, but as you can see on the right-hand side, we don't have any subtrees of folders because a webinar is built for presentations of anything, PDFs, images, Excel sheets, PowerPoints, whatever you want, you can actually put that into the webinar. But the first thing we're going to do is actually turn off the video. So when you first come into your webinar, it's going to give you that alert, and it's going to want you to allow the video. So we're going to allow the video, but we're going to turn it off at the top. So the first thing I'm going to do is click OK, and then I'm going to go to the top of the screen, and I'm going to hit the, it looks like a microphone icon, and another icon that is actually a camera. And I'm clicking on both of those so that they're both X'd out, so I don't have video when I'm going through and uploading documents. Now you should be able to see it without the video. Now currently the way this is set up on the webinar, you see the video screen, which is blank right now at the top left, and below it is the list. And right now we have one person in that list, and that's ourselves, the host of the webinar. That list will be populated as you start to send invites. But we're going to add a few folders first, so that way we have something to talk about in our webinar. So I minimize the screen, as you can see, browser. So I minimize my browser so it's still available, just not taking up the full screen. And I'm going to open up a folder on my desktop here. When I open that up, it's going to have a group of files, or a group of individual documents. And I'm going to select one of those and drag that over. And as you can see, I just drag and drop. It brings it right on over, and there's the actual document. It's in the process of uploading, and that is the icon you will see. I'm going to do that for a couple others. I'm going to bring those over, drag, drop, same process, and now I have about 3 files in there. Now when I enlarge the screen here to the full screen size, I wanted to highlight for everyone that you can actually upload the documents. In the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says Upload Files. If you click on that, it'll pop up your directory on your local desktop, and you can also bring over documents in the same fashion. You can highlight them and bring them over to your webinar screen. Now, what we're going to do is talk about inviting individuals to the webinar. If you look at your webinar screen right now, we have the 3 documents that we're going to be presenting. And in the very top, it's to the middle, to the right a little bit, it says Send an Invite. And we've highlighted it. We're going to click on that link. And when we click on that link, it's going to bring a pop-up. In this pop-up, it's an area that we can send invites to anybody to the webinar. And this is probably the most common way to expand your webinar capabilities, is just send an email invite to anybody you wish to have participate. We're going to go through right now and add an individual. So I've added an individual here. I put their name in there. I've already highlighted the screen up there for the calendar, picking a specific date right now. So I've got the name of the email in there. I've got the date. I'm going to pick, I think, that date right there. Then I'm going to go over and set the time. As I've highlighted here, you can see that I'm actually making an adjustment up and down on the time. Then finally, I've got it highlighted in the actual message there to the left, where I've actually made a change. And you can change that text message, because this is just like just sending an email. And once I've made those adjustments, I can hit the send button, which the send is at the bottom. So once I click the send, it's actually going to send, and you're going to get notifications as your email has been sent. Well, once the email's been sent, I should also receive a notice in the main box to the right, and that's what that blank space is to the right of the actual message. It's going to list all the emails that I've sent. So if I want, I could go back through the process and send another email to another individual, and that's going to appear on that list to the right there. So I'll have a list of individuals appearing. Right now we're going to exit, and that's why I've highlighted the X up there. We're going to X out of this and leave the invitation part, and actually see what happens when the person activates the invitation. So we're going to start the webinar with a guest. So what I'm going to do is go back through the main webinar here on the video section on the top left. I'm going to now activate my mic and activate the camera so that you'll be able to see our room. I'm going to do that now. And now you can actually see a video here of the room. This is where the webinar host is presenting. And you can also see a highlight below that the individual guest has appeared. There's a green dot that is indicated on the list of individuals underneath the video. And that list can go on and on. So we can have a scroll function if we need to add more than 25, 30, 50 individuals. They'll appear in that particular area. So that's an important area to focus on if you're the host of the webinar, because it's going to show you through those sort of on-off dots, whether it's green, which means they're on, or red, which means they're not available. That's where we are actually going to control when individuals, or notify ourselves when individuals participate in a webinar. This individual has joined in, and we can see with the green dot. We also know that if the individual wishes to participate, they can raise their hand. And there's a little hand that you can see right there, and that's exactly what the individual did, is they clicked on the hand to ask a question. And so now that that individual has been highlighted in green, this is something that the host would see, we can actually click on that green area and allow them into the actual webinar. So now that they've been clicked on, and you can see up in the upper left-hand corner a small video, they have been activated in our webinar. Also on the list below, you can see that they now are highlighted with the small webinar screen. There are two boxes in that list next to their name on the far left. The box on the far left is the main screen, which is the big circle, and the box on the second to the left is the small circle, and that's the upper left-hand screen. And that's the video screen area where an individual can ask the questions in that particular webinar. That is the functions of the webinar. It's very straightforward, very easy to use. The documents themselves, when you click on one of those documents, it'll open it up as you're participating right now in this webinar. You'll be able to see the same events when you're hosting. The main function of this was to show you how easy it is to host a webinar with the Legal Conference product. What we'd like to remind everybody is if you have any questions on setting up a webinar, our support staff is ready to assist you. You can call today, 1-800-529-5121 to get started on a webinar. It's going to make the process a lot easier. Let us help you out because it's something that your office can use. Now, are there any questions pertaining to the webinar? I'm going to open this up for any questions. If there are, they can go ahead and use the hand there to click on. Otherwise, if there aren't any questions in this particular webinar, we're probably going to adjourn at this point, and we'll have another webinar probably in about a week or so. Again, thank you for your participation. We just wanted to show you how easy it is to start a webinar for your legal profession. Thank you very much. Have a great day.